Welcome to the Beacon Way podcast, hosted by award-winning executive team of Beacon Media and Marketing. With over 3 decades of experience, Adrian, Jennifer, and Ken give you an insider's view of what's working, what's not, and what's on the horizon for digital marketing. Grow your business today with the Beacon Way podcast.
Welcome back to the Beacon Way podcast. We are renewing our series on mental health experts, folks in the field that are doing great work, and really excited to have Krista Walsh here with us today. She's going to talk about all things SEO, copywriting, dispel some of the myths around that area. Thanks so much for joining us, Krista.
Yay. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
As we were getting ready for the recording, we were just talking about how long we've been doing SEO and all the discussion around what SEO means and confusion. And I was sharing, I thought it was starting to get better as we moved into more content marketing over the past 5 or 6 years. And then it seems like with AI, we dove back into a lot of confusion with what people think it is. What are you seeing in the market as far as everything related to SEO, AI, how they're interacting? Questions that you're getting that maybe you could share some answers with on the podcast? That would be great.
Yeah, I think SEO has always felt like this really complicated, scary thing for people who have barely dipped their toe in, which is most practice owners, possibly a lot of marketers too, if you're in a different zone. And then adding AI into the mix just really threw us back into that. It really does feel reminiscent to me, some of the things people are saying of those earlier days in SEO where there was a lot of black hat SEO tricks going on where we're just going to bury keywords into your white space of your website, and that way Google will think your website is good. And then with AI, it's people, whether it's the business owners themselves or sometimes people in the SEO field are trying to use AI then to get similar this hack type of way to rank your site using AI. We're just going to churn out blog posts with AI. We're going to use AI to do our keyword research. We're going to just do this quick win, get rich quick kind of scheme. And I would just point people to look at Google's most recent algorithm update, but also all of the ones in history basically have all been to address very similar problems, which is we do not want content to be showing up in search results that is not actually helpful to the end user. Right now, their latest algorithm update is all about trying to root out AI-driven content and demote it. The same thing happened in previous updates with putting keywords into your white space or you can't even see them, but it made for a crazy type of hack to get your website to rank. Google demoted those sites too because they're like, that's keyword stuffing. That's not actually helpful for the user. Their customers are humans. And so they want to make sure that the search results that are coming up, whether it's articles or actual websites, are the ones that are actually relevant and most helpful to the person searching.
I love that. I completely agree with everything you just said. And I think it's easier said than done because it's human condition, whether it's SEO or it's weight loss or anything that we go through. It's like, oh, is there some quick thing that I can do that will have faster results that I can get there faster? I think that is just part of our human condition of how can we game the system. And like you said, I've been doing this long enough, and it sounds like you definitely have too, that you see them come and go. So it's okay, here's the latest one. And then when I saw the 40% of the websites get deranked on this latest Google algorithm and none of our client sites were affected, it was like, okay, that was worth it to ride that out. And that's what you want. You want to know that you're on the long-term gain. It's hard to be in that space when there's so many people saying there's a quick fix.
Yeah.
What's your view on, do you feel like there's good ways to use it in a way that's productive, that is still able to create authentic content, maybe using it for structure, or where are you seeing any advantage in that long term?
Yeah. So I have played with it so much because I'm endlessly curious. Also, I want to make my work easier for me. So yeah, I've definitely played around. I have some rules for myself for how to use it. So we're not triggering Google's algorithm to be like, hey, this is AI generated content, and also producing great copy and content. So, primary ways I use it are things like if I'm doing research and I want like summaries of like long studies, for example, if we're writing like a long form piece of content, that's been really helpful to speed stuff up for me. So, I'm not having to spend an hour reading a study, but I can spend 15 minutes digesting the summary. And then when it comes to creating actual content, the rule for I have for myself and for any writers that I work with is no first drafts by AI and no complete drafts by AI. So, I would never give it an outline and be like, "Write this for me," because it's gonna write it in that sort of way that we can all kinda especially if you're in marketing, I think you can all recognize as, "This feels AI," and it takes you out of the moment. I don't know, like, where you're looking at it and being like, "Is this AI? Is it not?" And then it also might be flagged by Google, and probably, frankly, it's not gonna have the subject matter expertise that a human would, particularly in mental health or healthcare spaces. But I will use AI in the writing for, like, little key places, like, "Help me, like, optimize a title for this." There are even, like, specific AIs that will help you come up with more compelling titles, stuff like that, or section headlines, or even if I write something and the content, like, I'm looking at, like, a sentence or 2 that feels really long and chunky and, like, hard to read, I'll maybe ask AI to come in on that section and be like, "How would you rework this to be clearer?" And then I'll take that and maybe work in its ideas. But yeah, I would say full use to use it in terms of summarizing content in your own research for like little pieces of content editing where you're stuck. But my rules are no first drafts and no complete drafts by AI.
Yeah, I think that's excellent rule. And I think who knows where things are going to go in the next 2 or 3 years. If it's advanced this far, I don't know where we'll be. But I heard a really good somebody I really admire in marketing, Margaret Sheridan, been following him for years. He wrote the kind of the Bible on the how you position yourself on your website by answering as many questions as possible that clients will have before
Mhm.
they call you because people don't want to call you anymore. And he presented a scenario of let's say you have an AI bot or like they look like a human, but they're on their website and they're answering any questions that potential clients have. You still have to have the content. And the more valuable the content that you have that's really useful means that you can give that information to AI. Right.
Yeah.
So it helped reframe for me as I'm thinking through this new era that we're in. It's like the same pieces still apply, which is producing the most value and thinking of what benefits your client or user will never go wrong as long as you just keep going back to what is the most valuable. I really appreciate your perspective on that. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story. How did you get into this? What was the passion that
Yeah.
led you to
Sure. So I got into this. It's a long, meandering story. I don't have a very neat,
like a
like,
perfect
villain
little
origin story or something.
I don't know that entrepreneurs often do. It's usually like this happened and then this happened and then you wake up and you're doing something else.
So I graduated college. I had spent most of my college years basically working full time in various paid internship capacities in marketing. And I think the companies I was working for, I just didn't connect with and felt like I did not want to contribute my life force to something I didn't like fully feel behind. So I decided to move to Spain for a couple of years teaching English because that was a thing you could do at the time. I think you can still do that. And while I was there, I started freelancing online because I had some free time basically because it was like a part-time job teaching. And by the time my contracts were up at the schools, I was making a full-time income as a freelancer. So that is when I moved back to the United States to California where I live now and decided to give it a real go in building a business. And one of the first things that really helped me build a business was optimizing my own website for SEO. And to this day, since doing that, like a huge chunk of my clients find me through Google search, read through my website, and they're absolutely ideal and come through my door and want to work with me. So that's where I started really believing in the power of SEO for certain types of companies to be this like passive driver of new business.
I love that. You're one of the first people I've ever talked to in this industry that basically grew their business the way that we did. We did exactly the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, we used SEO. So when we decided to expand outside of Alaska. We were already doing like the local SEO and search and everything, but when we decided to expand, this is 7 years ago, We first identified the market that we wanted, who we worked with best, who our ideal client was, and we decided on mental health marketing. They were our favorite clients. We had a passion for it. We felt like we were making a difference and helping people in that industry. And so we just see that's how we got our clients. So we started basically making sure we had great content, showing our case studies, talking about who our ideal client was, who we wanted to work with. And that to this day is actually how we get most of our business still. So it's definitely changed and evolved, and there's a lot of referrals and conferences and all that. That's actually how Steve found us from the mental health marketing conference 7 years ago. So you like look at I think if you're going to really sell something as a marketer, you need to know that you know that you know you believe in it.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to do it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that speaks volumes to then what you do for your clients too, because you're applying it to yourself.
Yeah. But I haven't met very many. I guess it's in my agency world, most of the agencies I've talked to have gone like a very outbound strategy.
Mhm.
And we've never done that. We've always been inbound. And like we said, you're still putting effort in, of course, but I think it's so much better when you have positioned yourself so that people want to reach out to you versus hitting them with an ad. If you can go that way, it's better. I know you do SEO and you do web, and I was talking to you beforehand about the combination between SEO and UX,
Mhm.
the value of that. What are your thoughts around that about how the two work together to achieve good goals for clients?
I think the conception about SEO is get clients through Google using SEO. But I just want to remind people to like tune into critical thinking for a moment and realize that like SEO efforts on their own will rank your website. But then people still have to choose you out of all of the other options. It's not like Google is showing them one option and they're like, great, it's that one or nothing.
Right.
And particularly in spaces where you have to compete on positioning and message and things like that, and because you can't compete on price, I'm thinking basically of every private pay practice that's out there. You just cannot compete with somebody who would find someone through their insurance panel, um, on price. So, like, you have to appeal to people with a really compelling message as well. So that's where UX and messaging and design all come into play along with SEO. If SEO attracts people to your door, then content and design slash user experience will then convert the right people into like calling for new appointments or new initial consults or filling out a form and having people feel like you're an easy choice. This really makes sense for me. I'm going to choose you, possibly even though your rates are double what the next person in Google searches.
Because you're speaking directly to them, right?
Yeah. You're helping them feel like you really understand them. And I would say beyond that, you're probably the people who have the most success are like they're doing something specific. And so it makes them like the easy choice. So, for example, we're a group practice that focuses on like anxiety and OCD. So, if somebody has anxiety and OCD, they're going to choose the practice that focuses on that because it's an urgent issue that they want solved versus a more general practice. But it doesn't have to be in like problem you focus on, although it could be, but it could be through other like points of differentiation. Like maybe it is around access. I have seen success with people who get really good at an in-demand modality like brain spotting or something like that that people
Right.
are looking for, and they want a specialist in that, or EMDR is another one that's really popular now and it has been. But yeah, it's like drawing a line in the sand of here's who we work with best. Here's why you should choose us, and then tailoring your SEO strategy to attract the clients who are looking for that. And then also your website itself, conveying that message really clearly, making it easy for them to reach out, answering their questions, to your point earlier. And then that whole package makes you just feel like such an easy choice for patients or clients who are usually in this moment of nerves or overwhelm or possibly in a bad state, even depending on who you serve.
Yeah. I love what you said in that part of it. I've had this conversation with just other marketers in general that the UX, the way that you write your messaging, all of that is important in every industry. But I think when you have an industry where people are already at a stress point when they're looking at the site, I think of especially like our addiction recovery clients. If it's a family member that is really worried about their child or partner and they're like searching through, if you make it complicated for them and hard to find the information they need and to connect with them, like that is just almost insult to injury.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that perspective. Did you pick this particular industry for a reason? Was it just like it came to you, or was it something that you were thinking about doing?
Yeah, historically, I've worked with a number of different industries, but I am trying to focus exclusively on healthcare and mental health moving forward because I think I said earlier something about life force and wanting to put it behind
Yeah.
something that matters to me. That's pretty much the reason. I had a wonderful experience with my first therapist years ago after I was struggling with pretty debilitating and frequent panic attacks that prevented me from driving. I was even scared to go out for walks by myself in case it happened. And working with my therapist really helped. Like now I basically have no panic attacks, maybe once a year, a couple years, which is crazy quality of life difference. So anything I can do to help that help get to more people.
Yeah, I love that. I think having a personal motivation is that's definitely mental health for past for me and my daughter in multiple situations. Like when you see the impact it makes. And I came from or come from faith community and they don't always accept or talk about mental health. So to me, that was also a big part of it is breaking down stigma and those issues. It's come a long way for sure, but to be part of it is a good thing. Yeah. So tell me what's next for you. You're going to keep growing business. Have you decided to expand beyond where you are now? Do you have goals in the next couple of years of where you want to go?
Yeah, I think next couple years our goals are just to get really good at what we're doing now. I don't currently have plans to like expand into other marketing services. I want to deliver a solution that gets results for people and then really continue to fine tune and iterate to make it better and better. Um, Less expansion, more just like refinement for now.
I think that's great. I advise that to a lot of people. Don't do what we did, which is you expand so much so quickly that it can affect quality. And then we had to go back and refine.
Hmm.
I think the refining and really producing something excellent actually brings more business organically.
Yeah. And I think it's for me personally, like my brain, it thrives on like simplicity. And I feel overwhelmed whenever I think about like, I very much admire what you do. And I work with some other marketing agencies and they're incredible. And they have managed to like master these different things with experts that they work with. Yeah, I think as a leader, though, my brain is more like the simple route for now, at least. We'll see. Maybe I can
Yeah.
grow. Our brains are neuroplastic, right?
Totally. Yeah, I did not position myself I did not envision myself here. Honestly, if it was just me, I would still be just doing Alaska marketing, but my business partner had, like, big vision, big dreams, and she just told me that from the beginning, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll go for it," and it's amazing how much my brain has grown through that over the years. It's possible, it's just if that's what you really want. Businesses can be very successful doing the niche, I think, which I love. Thank you so much for your time. That was great. I love the SEO, AI section of it. If people wanna find you, they're interested in your services, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah. So I guess I can share my website link with you. So KristaWalshCopywriter.com is the main website. If you do /website agency, that'll give you more detailed information on this particular niche that we've been talking about. LinkedIn's also a great way. I'm constantly active on there trying to share and educate.
Before we go really quick, then tell me about LinkedIn. Are you finding that's worthwhile to spend your time, and do you advise clients on that too?
Yeah, so I love LinkedIn for me. So it is different for me versus clients a lot of times because I'm B2B. So my ideal clients tend to be there, other practice owners, CEOs, people like that. But I would say the biggest reason I like it is because it's not super visual the way that other platforms are, particularly with video. If that's not your strong suit, you're hard pressed to find like a social media that doesn't prioritize video so much. And I think LinkedIn possibly because it's not in like the metasphere, like it's not
Right.
it just hasn't prioritized it as much. So I find you can still get really great traction with just text post, which is pretty amazing, or like an image.
When I find people actually the AI stuff I've seen lately has been a little discouraging, but some of my best contacts, my best connections, whether it's client or we've gotten like some of our best clients through LinkedIn,
Mm,
but even just like people in the field that I've learned from that we all need those other businesses that are around us that do similar things and their perspectives, what they're seeing in the market. I think LinkedIn's highly valuable. And I agree. I feel like less stress for me to participate. than all the other things, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Social.
Are you guys everywhere? I know
Are.
you're on TikTok too and everything.
No, we don't. It's the one that we decided not to do. We just have ethical concerns about that one.
Hello.
Yeah, we did not go there. And I'm friends with a gentleman, Austin, who's really pushes TikTok for therapists and for that field. And we looked at it, and the really big concern I had was that one, there's already multiple lawsuits against psychologists that have given advice on there. And if you look at the way the algorithm's set up and you look through the comments on folks that are giving advice or that are positioning themselves, like people are wanting like direct diagnoses on TikTok. They're wanting direct information. And I think that I just don't agree with that. I mean, that there's a huge negative risk factor of doing that.
Yeah, you probably have to have a legal team like looking over your content.
Yeah. So we just decided we know there's a lot of people there, but so far, like even for the clients we have where we're really focused on like teen and adolescent addiction recovery or different programs, we've been really successful just sticking with Instagram and then Facebook Meta for the parents. And
Yeah.
that's worked really well. So we've seen such good results. If it really became an issue that we weren't getting what we needed for our clients, we'd probably look at it again, but it just felt like the cost was too high.
Yeah, for sure.
It could actually really hurt somebody.
Yeah. And you have a point
Yeah.
too with demographics. I'm sure TikTok is getting older as people grow up, but yeah, probably the teens are probably not the ones making ultimate decisions for recovery.
No, there are more teens self-referring
Mm-hmm.
than there used to be, which is great. There's more teens I would say that have awareness that are self-referring, but the data so far on Instagram is still pretty significant. If they're on TikTok, they're usually still on Instagram. So as long as that stays, we'll see until the next one. But we're on everything else.
Yeah. I'm not on TikTok either. I don't think there'd be like legal concerns for me, but it just seems I don't even like being on there as a consumer. So
And we
like I
got,
don't think
and I know, I thought it was just my age, but like our whole team, most of our team are in their and some early 30s. Actually, it varies. We have a wide ranging age on our team, but as far as like the production for social tends to be younger, and none of them are on TikTok. And they're just like, we don't like it. We don't, if it doesn't make us feel good, like the algorithm it just trended towards negative feelings.
I
So
can see
I
that.
thought that self-awareness was pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. I have that feeling too. If I do have an account, but I'll only download it if someone sends me a video. So then I'll have to log in to watch the video. But then, yeah, it like funnels you into a hole. And I like keeping, is this me? Am I somehow like a dark force that's
No, I
attracting it?
know. Yeah, that's what they were telling me. They're like, this is not us. This is, I don't know what the stuff it's sending them is not them. Yeah. Anyway, it was awesome talking to you. I appreciate the insight on LinkedIn too. And thanks so much, everybody, for joining the Beacon Way podcast. We will have Krista's info, her links to her website, everything. Definitely reach out to her. I'm definitely a fan of her content. So see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
You have been listening into the Beacon Way podcast. Make sure to join us for new episodes every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Beacon Way on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.